Today we're going to talk about the devil. The devil's name is Gordon Ramsay. A devil is defined as a creature that does nothing but harm in the world.
Who is this woman, and how did she become one of the most controversial figures on TikTok and YouTube?
Is she actually a good person? Now you have a dog. Your dog's name is Kevin. Dog is super cute. Just like all dogs and all animals are cute in their own way. I want to ask you, would you be able to take a knife and a fork and slice into your dog and eat?
In the weird, messy world of TikTok, shock value equals influence. But few creators have taken that further than Katie Karen Diekmeyer, the woman the internet knows as that vegan teacher. A former school teacher turned full-time animal rights crusader. She aims to fight for the voiceless, but behind the rainbow thumbnails and green heart emojis lies something much darker.
Tina Collins, on the other hand, has publicly shared that she was yet she turns a blind eye when the exact same thing happens to other females. If she truly understood the pain of being violated, she would speak out against it happening to innocent animals. But instead, she continues to support and normalize this.
That vegan teacher built a brand on vegan activism. At first, she just wanted to speak up for the animals. But soon enough, the comments got darker, the tactics more extreme, until her actions became downright indefensible. She's been banned, exposed, mocked, and parodied. But she's still here, still uploading, still calling you a killer over chicken nuggets.
3, 2, 1, sing! Eating animals is wrong, McDonald's. Hurting animals is wrong, McDonald's. Share this song and change your entire menu to be vegan from now on.
This is the story of how that vegan teacher blurred the line between activism and obsession. Katie Karen Diekmeyer entered the world of social media relatively late in life, having spent decades as an elementary school English teacher in Quebec, Canada. Born in the 1960s, Karen lived most of her life in relative obscurity before deciding to leverage TikTok as her platform of choice at the age of 56. Unlike many internet personalities who grow up in the digital spotlight, Katie had already formed deeply entrenched beliefs about veganism, religion, and education long before picking up her smartphone to record her first viral video. This late-in-life pivot to content creation would prove to be a volatile mixture of conviction and naivete about internet culture. Her initial TikTok account, That Vegan Teacher, launched in 2020 and exploded in popularity, though not necessarily for the reasons she might have hoped. With her ukulele in hand and her rescue dog Bella by her side, Katie began posting musical pleas for veganism mixed with direct confrontations about meat consumption. What started as simple advocacy quickly morphed into something more polarizing. Her elementary school teaching background was evident in her sing-song delivery and simplified messaging. But the childlike presentation stood in stark contrast to the often inflammatory content of her statements. She approached TikTok like it was a classroom of 9-year-olds, except she was lecturing millions of teens and adults about their moral failings.
True, but when you have this many followers, you have a social responsibility to only promote vegan foods.
No, I don't. That's your opinion!
That's my opinion!
I just wanted to eat some snacks.
And if you start
By late 2020, Katie had amassed over 1.7 million followers on TikTok, a number that reflected not just supporters, but a growing audience of critics, trolls, and bewildered onlookers fascinated by her escalating rhetoric and apparent tolerance for severe criticism and backlash. But as her notoriety grew, so did the intensity of her messaging. What had begun as passionate advocacy for animal rights gradually expanded into controversial territory involving religion, sexuality, race relations, and increasingly personal attacks on other content creators. Behind the seemingly simple message of "be vegan" lurked a complex web of beliefs and apparent willingness to court controversy that would eventually make That Vegan Teacher one of the internet's most recognizable and most discussed degenerates of the early 2020s. If That Vegan Teacher was still operating in relative obscurity before January 2021, her calculated decision to target one of the world's most famous chefs would forever change her trajectory in the online ecosystem. Gordon Ramsay, the Michelin-starred chef known for his fiery personality and unfiltered critiques, had begun participating in TikTok's duet feature, reacting to various cooking videos with his signature biting commentary. His presence on the platform had quickly amassed millions of followers who tuned in for his scathing yet humorous takedowns. For Katie, this represented the perfect opportunity, a massive audience and a celebrity figure whose career was built around meat-centric cuisine.
Hello, students. Let's sing. Eating animals is wrong, Gordon Ramsay. Hurting animals is wrong, Gordon Ramsay. Share this song and change your entire attitude to be vegan from now on. Eating animals is wrong, Gordon Ramsay. Hurting animals is wrong, Gordon Ramsay. Share this song and change your entire menu to be vegan from now on.
She began this by making a video on TikTok, explaining to him that animals weren't food from her perspective.
What I noticed that you have is you don't seem to understand the difference between food and animals. Food is something that you get out of the ground or you take it from a tree, and it's something that's very healthy for us to eat. Animals are alive. Chickens and cows, sheep, these things are not actually food.
To be fair, that vegan teacher actually made a decent point here. Her argument was presented in a calm, logical, and persuasive manner, something that most people could easily understand. The notion that if we have food growing on trees and in the ground, maybe we don't need to eat animals, is a simple yet compelling perspective at face value. But after that, things start to go downhill. It became clear that this was the only rational or compelling point she had to offer. As her resentment toward Gordon Ramsay intensified, her criticisms became increasingly irrational and absurd.
Ramsay, such a terrible father. Why does he teach his children speciesism, which is the purest form of racism? Racism is wrong. Homophobia is wrong. Ageism is wrong. Ableism is wrong. Why does Gordon Ramsay teach that ableism is okay? He teaches that it's okay to discriminate against the most vulnerable in our society.
The provocative accusation of child corruption was just the opening section. In subsequent videos, she escalated her rhetoric dramatically, calling him the devil.
Today we're going to talk about the devil. The devil's name is Gordon Ramsay. A devil is defined as a creature that does nothing but harm in the world.
Vegan-phobic and an animal bully, all while directly questioning his capability as a father.
Why is Gordon Ramsay an animal bully when instead of eating meat, he could just eat protein-packed veggies? Why does Gordon Ramsay choose to pay for blood and murder when he can just switch over to vegan mayo and a vegan burger? Why does Gordon Ramsay hate animals so much? Why does he slice them with a knife instead of offering a life-saving touch? Why does Gordon Ramsay think that kidnapping for cheese is okay? Because that's what the dairy industry does to baby boy cows every day.
What Katie perhaps hadn't anticipated was Ramsay's savvy understanding of internet culture. Rather than responding with outrage, Ramsay posted a video of himself enthusiastically biting into a vegetable before revealing he was actually eating a beef burger. Just before he bit into the burger, he called her a vegan donut.
Eating animals is wrong, Gordon Ramsay. Hurting animals is wrong, Gordon Ramsay. Share this song, and if you call me a donut, that's fine.
Vegan
As long as
donut.
you're vegan from now on.
The playful jab garnered millions of views and positioned Ramsay as being in on the joke rather than its victim. Undeterred by his lighthearted response, Katie doubled down with an ode to Gordon Ramsay poem that further condemned his dietary choices and career.
The day Gordon Ramsay duetted me, I fell to my knees and cried. I shook my fists at a non-existent god as Gordon laughed at the trillions that had died. This evil chef smirked at the Holocaust that animals are now dying through. Instead of guiding his fans to watch Earthlings to learn what is really true, Gordon Ramsay continued to bully the most innocent of animals just for fame. And next he came for us, their protectors, carving our wrists without feeling even a single red tear of shame.
When that failed to elicit the reaction she wanted, she released a video comparing Ramsay's meat consumption to World War II atrocities. a comparison that even many of her supporters found excessive. The controversy triggered a wave of commentary videos from popular creators like Pancho, Jaden, and Bray, who analyzed and often mocked the escalating feud. Rather than retreat from the attention, Katie leveraged it, producing increasingly extreme content, including videos titled "Gordon Ramsay Should Be in Jail" and "Fire Gordon from the Silk Milk Company."
Hello, Silk Milk. Apparently you're paying money to Gordon Ramsay to promote your product? How crazy is that? Don't be doing that. He doesn't care about your milk. He's not even vegan. He pays people to rape, torture, and murder animals. Why would you want him to promote this wonderful product that I drink myself every day?
This attempt to jeopardize Ramsay's income must have touched a nerve amongst onlookers, because as the one-sided feud continued, farmers began posting TikToks thanking Ramsay for defending their livelihoods against Katie's attacks. Ramsay responded by compiling these videos alongside a caption expressing his support, always standing behind farmers, grateful for the work they do and the passion they have on a daily basis. Many began to praise Gordon Ramsay, calling his responses clever and saying, "So he made the obvious choice, siding against her." But there's also the fact that by making it humorous instead of a long takedown or explanation or argument, he didn't really have to specify his position on anything other than her personality. This limits the amount of blowback he'll get. He may have called her a vegan donut, but that isn't likely to upset many actual vegans who haven't already taken offense to Ramsay. It's hard to disagree with, she's a donut. So now all of us, including me, are talking about the guy mostly in a positive light. Katie, perhaps sensing her diminishing returns on the controversy, shot back with a bizarre accusation that Ramsay was encouraging people to steal. By this point, however, the celebrity chef had clearly made attempts to reignite the feud with increasingly inflammatory comments. Ramsay never acknowledged her again. The Ramsay saga had done exactly what Katie seemed to want. It dramatically increased her follower count and cemented her place in internet culture. But it also established a pattern she would repeat with diminishing returns: target a celebrity, escalate to extreme rhetoric, and then claim victimhood when they either responded or ignored her entirely. For many internet onlookers, this was the moment that vegan teacher transitioned from passionate advocate to calculated provocateur, someone who understood that outrage was the currency of social media success, regardless of how it might affect her stated mission of promoting veganism. With momentum from the Gordon Ramsay feud still fueling her growing notoriety, Katie's approach revealed a clear pattern. That is, identify massively popular creators, regardless of their connection to animal rights issues, and leverage their audience for visibility. Her next high-profile target demonstrated that no amount of goodwill or charitable work could provide immunity from her crusade. Jimmy Donaldson, better known as mrbeast, has built an empire on extravagant philanthropy, giving away millions of dollars, homes, and life-changing opportunities through his wildly popular YouTube channel. By early 2021, he had amassed over 50 million subscribers, making him one of the platform's most beloved figures. After mrbeast made a couple of videos trying out a giant pizza and promoting a dairy company, Katie saw an opportunity to attack him.
mrbeast bought a whole store full of food and donated to the poor, right? What did that include? Innocent chickens who were murdered. The whole thing is wrong. Nothing that he did in that equation was good.
Her achievements include being...
The attack was particularly jarring given mrbeast's reputation for philanthropy and activism, including his efforts to feed kids in impoverished countries, as well as his efforts to provide food and potable water in impoverished communities around the world.
You have one job while you're on this planet, mrbeast, and that is to make the world a better place and not on the backs of the animals, no matter how much money you give away. If you do it on the backs of the innocent animals who are basically acting as your slaves right now, you are perpetuating this Holocaust that's going on.
Unlike Ramsay's playful response, mrbeast opted for silence, a decision that only seemed to frustrate Katie, who escalated her rhetoric with follow-up videos, calling him a murderer of animals, and suggesting his philanthropy was meaningless if he continued to profit from animal products.
Become vegan. Number 2, become an animal rights activist for the rest of your life. Tell people that the videos that you've done in the past, including this one, that you're ashamed of and that you wish you had never done them. Only promote vegan foods, vegan products.
"You're still not vegan, and I'm very disappointed in you," she said. "Actually, I'm disgusted by your lack of empathy." The internet's reaction was swift and overwhelmingly negative. Commentary channels like SunnyV2 and Asparagus quickly pointed out the irony of Katie attacking someone known for his charitable giving, while she herself had no comparable record of tangible humanitarian impact. Others noted how her targeting of MrBeast, who had no history of antagonizing vegans or animal rights activists, revealed that her primary motivation appeared to be attention rather than advocacy. The MrBeast controversy cemented a growing perception that Katie operated on a simple algorithm: target the biggest names regardless of their actual stance on animal rights, make increasingly outrageous claims, and harvest the inevitable reaction for growth. The strategy worked in terms of raw visibility. Her follower count continued to climb, but the collateral damage to the vegan movement itself was becoming increasingly apparent. Many vegan content creators began publicly distancing themselves from her tactics, concerned that her confrontational approach was creating more resistance to veganism rather than promoting it. When asked about this criticism, Katie dismissed these fellow vegans as plant-based cowards who lacked the courage to speak truth to power. While the MrBeast controversy never reached the interactive heights of the Gordon Ramsay feud, it revealed something important about that vegan teacher's evolving strategy. Silence from her targets would not deter her. If anything, it would only push her to more extreme statements in pursuit of the reaction she craved. While Gordon Ramsay and MrBeast represented calculated swings at internet royalty, Katie's feud with YouTube reaction queen Elias Shalesh, better known as SSSniperwolf, would evolve into something more personal and prolonged. This conflict would also demonstrate what happened when a target decided to engage rather than ignore that vegan teacher's provocations. With over 30 million subscribers, SSSniperwolf had built her YouTube empire primarily on reaction content, gaming videos, and lifestyle content. Unlike Ramsay, she wasn't known for promoting meat consumption, and unlike MrBeast, she hadn't launched any food businesses. She simply represented another massive audience that Katie could potentially tap into. The conflict began when Katie posted a video directly calling out SSSniperwolf.
SSSniperwolf, if you're watching this, if you don't wake up tomorrow, it won't bother me at all. And in fact, honestly, I would be kind of happy.
Hello friends, it's me. I hope your day's going great. Mine was until I found out that the vegan teacher wants me dead. You heard that right. Dead.
Using her signature approach of judgmental questioning wrapped in saccharine delivery. Hi, SSSniperwolf. Are you aware that every day you're not vegan, innocent animals are dying needlessly because of your food choices? What Katie likely didn't anticipate was that, unlike her previous high-profile targets, SSSniperwolf wouldn't ignore the bait. She would take it and run. In a video titled, "That Vegan Teacher is Actually Crazy," SSSniperwolf devoted significant time to dissecting Katie's content.
I think she's using the wrong words. I'm narcissistic and self-absorbed because I eat meat.
Everything in her path is either something that she is going to use or it's useless. Get rid of it. That's how she feels. And I just find that that's just horrible.
That's true. If something is useful, you use it. If something is useless, you get rid of it. Saying it like it's a bad thing.
Making fun of her singing.
Why the f aren't you vegan yet, Mr. President Trump? Ooh! Is it because you're stuck on the toilet trying hard to push out a dump?
And dismissing her approach is trying to bully people into becoming vegan.
I am against stealing baby cows from their mothers. She thinks it's totally fine. You know, somebody like that will never change unless something drastic happens to her. Like, let's say she's cooking one day and accidentally a bunch of hot oil splatters on her face and she loses her sight or, you know, has a permanent disfigurement.
That's a bit far. To practically wish ill will on me because I'm not vegan. You know who else has no empathy? Psychopaths. I truly think that this is psychopath behavior.
Those are the kind of events that will wake somebody up like.
You need to focus on respecting people's choices, SSSniperwolf stated in her response video, which quickly garnered millions of views.
Eat your vegetables!
I think this woman is actually insane.
Attacking people online is not going to make anyone want to become vegan. For Katie, this was exactly the engagement she had been seeking, and she quickly doubled down with a response to the response.
This is the face of evil. Somebody who thinks it's funny to scare others, to hurt them, to cut their throats, to devour them.
This exchange quickly escalated beyond dietary choices into personal territory. SSSniperwolf produced another reaction video, this time focusing on some of Katie's most controversial statements about artists that had nothing to do with veganism.
Travis Scott, the rapper, he's an animal abuser. He gets sponsored by McDonald's. He encourages millions and millions of people to keep going there. I'm not okay with it. Did you hear what happened to him recently?
If you guys aren't caught up with the news, 8 people were killed at Travis Scott's concert, Astro World. Horrible what happened. But here we are, talking about McDonald's. This isn't about being vegan. What happened has nothing to do with being vegan. If Travis Scott just so happened to be vegan, I really wonder, would she be here defending him? Like she said it before. Oh, if you're not vegan, you deserve to die.
This isn't about veganism anymore. This is about a deeply disturbed person using a cause to justify attacking others. Katie responded by creating an apology video that was anything but apologetic. Instead, she doubled down on her criticisms of Sniperwolf while portraying herself as a victim of harassment.
Like Leah, SSSniperwolf, if you're watching this, if you don't wake up tomorrow, it won't bother me at all. And in fact, honestly, I would be kind of happy.
You know, when I was eating my eggs this morning, I didn't even think about the chicken that I stole the eggs from. I ate my breakfast and went on with my day. It's kind of like if you didn't wake up tomorrow, I also wouldn't care. I would just move on with my day. When something's useless, you throw it away.
What made the Sniperwolf feud particularly notable was its longevity. While most of Katie's targets eventually opted for the strategic silence that starved her of the attention she craved, Sniperwolf continued to occasionally feature Katie's latest controversial statements in her reaction videos, ensuring the conflict remained fresh in viewers' minds. For online observers, the back and forth revealed a fundamental contradiction in that vegan teacher's approach.
So when somebody calls me by my legal name, I take it as a form of disrespect. That by itself makes me want to punch a cow.
Punch a cow? Somebody mispronounces your name and you want to punch a cow? What a fucking bizarre thing to say. There are animal rights activists here who also defend the LGBTQ community and the dark-skinned community. Do you also feel like punching them when we defend them? What the fuck is the matter with you? Do you realize what your words are doing? Your words have impact. It's not a joke.
She later went on to say, speciesism is the purest form of racism. It is never funny to joke about violence, especially if you literally pay people to rape, torture, enslave, and murder the exact victims that you are joking about. Unsubscribe now if making fun of the defenseless is okay with you. While she claimed to be motivated by a compassion for animals, her interactions with humans displayed a striking lack of the very empathy she advocated, to the point where Sniperwolf commented on how she does nothing for the animals she claims to care so much about.
You talk so much about helping animals, but why don't you do anything else? You could be doing so much more than making these worthless videos on the internet. Like, if you really loved animals, you could be volunteering at places to actually help animals. But no, I think she's addicted to the attention.
Each exchange with Sniperwolf seemed to push Katie further from her stated goal of promoting veganism and deeper into personal grievances. The Sniperwolf saga demonstrated the diminishing returns of Katie's strategy. While initially effective at generating attention, the repeated pattern of provocation, response, and escalation began to feel predictable to audiences. But as that vegan teacher's provocations of major creators continued, a new ecosystem emerged around her content, an army of commentary channels eager to analyze, criticize, and often mock her increasingly outlandish statements. This secondary layer of content creation would further amplify her reach while simultaneously diminishing her message. August the Duck, a commentary creator known for his laid-back style and measured takes, devoted multiple videos to analyzing Katie's tactics. In fact, he has a playlist of 20 videos on his channel where he's done deep dives into the antics of that vegan teacher, and his sentiments are not favorable at all. His videos typically featured calm breakdowns of the logical inconsistencies in Katie's arguments, providing a counterpoint to her emotional appeals. However, in his latest video, he has strongly called for the deplatforming of the vegan teacher.
I clicked on one of her recent videos titled Psychotic Aunt Rob's Baby of Her Vegan Virginity, which is already an awful title, and we've dealt with this term in reference to children with that vegan teacher before, but I watched through it and I was like, okay, it doesn't really seem like she's actually trying to make a difference. And I was about to click off of it when I heard that vegan teacher say one of the worst things that I've ever heard a person say. And I'm not joking, okay? I'm really not exaggerating here. One of the worst things I have ever heard come out of a person's mouth. It's something that genuinely warrants the deplatforming of this woman, and it's making me seriously consider not talking about this woman after this video in order to not give her any more exposure. It really is that bad.
He then went on to play a video where the vegan teacher said,
"Imagine that this is your baby, and you ask your sister to babysit for a little while because you have to run some errands. Imagine that you tell your sister that you are vegan and you don't want your baby to eat any animal products. You trust your sister because you think your sister loves you and respects you. But when you're not looking, your sister takes the dead body part of an innocent animal who didn't want to die and feeds it to your child."
This video was later taken down, but not before it elicited a severe amount of backlash from people. In contrast, Ben of the Week took a more comedic approach, creating elaborate skits that parodied Katie's comments. Shortly after she canceled him, he made a video laughing at her.
Today we're going to talk about the devil. The devil's name is Gordon Ramsay. A devil is defined as a creature that does nothing but harm in the world.
And yes, for those...
But something seemed to have changed within the space of 1 year. In one particularly viral moment, he appeared in a video with her which he called Jester's Privilege. In the video, he claimed to have spent a full day with her, much to the shock of his viewers. The collab garnered 18 million views, which is way more views than any of Katie's original videos, introducing her content to audiences who had never directly engaged with her platform.
And he's like, "My sign's just way too big. You wanted me to put up one like this big." I'm like, "You'll never see it from the road." It's okay, right? It's not too big. You have your long johns on, Ben?
I don't, but...
Oh, you don't even have any mitts. You're gonna be cold.
Oh, no. I'll be good.
The collab was met with mixed reactions, with some people in the comments saying, "At the beginning, she seemed tolerable, but as soon as she got into that taxi and opened her mouth, my jaw dropped. I feel so bad for the taxi driver." And the fact that Ben didn't go crazy at her for the comment on eating disorders shows how much patience he has. I have full respect for him. In the end, the collab seems to have done more for him than for her. Oompaville, with his signature green screen effects and rapid-fire editing style, created what he called the Vegan Teacher's Cinematic Universe, a series that chronicled the most bizarre moments from Katie's TikTok career.
History books. They will read the documentation of the rise of social media and what came out of it. There will literally be a chapter dedicated to creators like the vegan teacher.
His compilations of her most controversial statements, stripped of their original context and presented in quick succession, painted a picture of escalating extremism. Perhaps most dedicated to Katie's image was Glider Guy's approach. He has a 37-video series detailing some of her most viral moments and criticizing her all the way. But the most notable of them all was when she blatantly accused him of being racist.
Is a glider guy racist? Now this is where I completely draw the line. You can make fun of me, you can say all this ridiculous BS that no one's ever gonna believe because no one respects you, vegan teacher, but at this point you're literally just slandering me.
Shortly after this incident, he decided to stop fueling her behavior and stopped giving her any attention at all. What united these diverse commentary creators was their recognition that Katie had become something more than just a controversial TikToker. She had transformed into a performance artist whose provocations seemed very calculated. For Katie, the explosion of reaction content represented a double-edged sword. On one hand, it exponentially expanded her reach, introducing her to new audiences far beyond TikTok's algorithm. On the other hand, it meant losing control of her narrative, as most of her extreme statements were clipped, remixed, and memorialized by creators with far larger platforms than her own. What she didn't acknowledge was the symbiotic nature of this relationship. She needed them too. As TikTok began restricting her content and shadow banning her videos, these commentary channels became an essential vector for her continued relevance in the online sphere. While Katie's previous feuds with major creators could be framed as calculated attempts at gaining visibility, her fixation on Canadian TikTok comedian KallMeKris, Chris Collins, revealed something more unsettling. What began as typical vegan teacher commentary evolved into a persistent pattern of behavior that many viewers found genuinely disturbing. Chris Collins had built her TikTok following of over 40 million through sketch comedy, character work, and relatable humor. Content that had nothing to do with animal rights or dietary choices. Unlike Ramsay or mrbeast, she wasn't an obvious target for vegan activism. Yet something about the comedian seemed to trigger an obsessive response in Katie. The harassment began in typical vegan teacher fare, a video urging Chris to go vegan for the animals. When this received no response, Katie's approach quickly escalated from advocacy to something more personal and intrusive. In a particularly unsettling video, Katie appeared holding a Crayola marker, apparently grading Chris's video where she was trying snacks that her fans sent. In the video, she was directly addressing Chris as if they were in some ongoing dialogue, despite Chris having never acknowledged or engaged with any of these videos. The irony of this situation wasn't lost on Chris when she eventually acknowledged the situation in a reaction video titled, "The Vegan Teacher Failed Me."
She has found me. We are being exposed today by the vegan teacher. Oh my gosh, I feel like I've made it. I've never had any drama yet. We got some tea going on.
In her response, she talked about how people should be able to eat what they want without being discriminated against.
First of all, disclaimer, I don't care if you're vegan, that's awesome. If you're vegetarian, cool, keto, paleo, whatever you want to be. I think anybody should be able to eat whatever they want to eat and nobody should be able to say any differently. I hope that
She also did a lot of witty clapbacks, and it became obvious within less than 2 minutes of watching the video that she wasn't taking any of it very seriously.
Why love one but eat the other?
because one tastes like chicken nuggets and those are delicious. Can you imagine a campaign for gummies? We grind the bones and tendons, children. Kids would be like, I don't give a just give me the candy. It tastes like crack. I don't care.
Of course, don't
With her usual lightheartedness, she playfully jabbed at the vegan teacher.
draw you a face. Really capturing this. Oh yes, the bangs. We must get the bangs and the Karen haircut. Yes. This is actually really nice. This is my rendition of you. Isn't she beautiful? Oh wait, I forgot to write on your shirt. There you go. Mine's a lot nicer. Be vegan.
And pointed out that the very Crayola marker Katie was using to lecture her contained animal fat.
What is this? Is that a Crayola marker? Oh no. We're about to expose the vegan teacher. Let's do some research. Are Crayola markers vegan? We shall find the truth. It will be shocking for some people to know that creating crayons requires the usage of animal fat. Crayola crayons are not vegan? Oh no. I have exposed the vegan teacher. I know that's just crayons and she's holding a crayon marker. You shall see. It says it right here at the top. Crayola says theirs is animal derived. I'm doing the people's work. You could dive even deeper into this. What are these glasses made out of, vegan teacher? What are the shirt made of? That doesn't look cotton to me. It looks pretty woolly to me. You know where wool comes from? Sheep probably. I don't know. Let's continue.
Something that was undoubtedly an animal product, making her props for vegan advocacy decidedly non-vegan by her own strict standards. This hypocrisy highlighted the impracticality of Katie's absolutist approach, as Chris noted that by that vegan teacher's impossible purity tests, nothing and no one could ever be truly vegan enough.
How do you do that? Do I go up to the person at the grocery store and be like, do you know if a monkey went up a tree and grabbed this coconut? Because if so, disgusting. I will never buy that coconut. This coconut's good. Oh.
Rather than backing off after being acknowledged, Katie intensified her focus on Chris. The volume of content directed at the comedian became so excessive that viewers began to question Katie's motivations. Was this still about veganism, or had it become something more personal? The situation took a disturbing turn when Chris shared a serious story about a past assault she had experienced. Rather than showing basic human empathy, Katie created a response video essentially dismissing Chris's traumatic experience because she wasn't vegan.
talking about something that happened to her a long time ago. An assault. A personal assault. A sexual assault that she suffered through. My question is this. If you don't like the fact that you were pinned down and assaulted, why do you pay people to do this to other females?
Suggesting that someone who consumes animal products has no right to complain about being violated themselves. People reacted to the video, saying things like she insulted Chris, using parts of Chris's past that are absolutely unnecessary and unacceptable, yet she still wants everyone to go vegan. Disgusting. And some calling for a lawsuit saying the vegan teacher needs to be sued for harassment and defamation. Some even doubted her sanity, saying she is not an argument for or against veganism, she's just crazy. And another commented on the sheer degeneracy of her comment, saying that her comment about Chris's past was a very low blow. He said she hit rock bottom, pulled out a pickaxe, and kept digging. What made the KallMeKris situation particularly troubling was its persistence over the years. While most of Katie's feuds with other creators eventually fizzled out as she moved on to new targets, her fixation on Kris continued relentlessly. Even after Kris got married and entered new chapters of her life, Katie continued producing videos targeting her. She would tag Kris in completely unrelated content, seemingly just to maintain some connection to the comedian, and would find ways to mention her even in videos ostensibly about other topics. For her part, Kris had developed a strategy of extended silence, sometimes going months or even years without acknowledging Katie's existence, a tactic that seemed to only intensify the harassment. When asked about the situation in interviews, Kris has expressed fatigue about the whole situation, indicating that she has no interest in engaging with what she sees as toxic, attention-seeking behavior. For many viewers, the KallMeKris saga represented a crucial turning point in their perception of that vegan teacher. What had previously been viewed as provocative but ultimately harmless attention-seeking began to look like something potentially more concerning, a pattern of fixation and boundary crossing that raised questions about Katie's understanding of things. OmniKing even released a commentary video about how KallMeKris is still being harassed, even after she just got married and made it clear that lots of people consider this behavior to be a jailable offense. The relentless nature of this one-sided feud led many platforms to reconsider their policies around targeted harassment. Several of Katie's videos specifically mentioning Kris were removed for violation of community guidelines, though this did little to deter her from creating new content with thinly veiled references to the comedian. It then became obvious that while both KallMeKris and SSSniperwolf had replied the vegan teacher, being kind and lighthearted in response may have fueled the fire and opened her up for harassment. A commenter pointed this out, highlighting the differences in their response. But if her harassment of KallMeKris demonstrated a disregard for personal boundaries, her comments following Pope Francis's death in early 2025 would reveal a willingness to breach even the most universally respected social norms, respect for the recently deceased. Just 3 days after the Pope's passing, while the Catholic world was still mourning and as millions worldwide paid tribute to the religious leader, Katie uploaded what would become her most universally condemned videos. In it, she claimed that Pope Francis deserved to go to hell for not promoting veganism during his papacy.
And any other religious or non-religious people in the world. He's in hell right now because he promoted the use of animal-based foods. During many official meals and religious feasts, animal products were savagely consumed or promoted by this disgraceful pope. The Catholic Church has a long-standing tradition of using meat, dairy, and eggs in its ceremonies and celebrations, none of which Pope Francis challenged.
He had the power to influence billions of people to stop killing animals, she stated in the video, strumming her ukulele with the Vatican displayed as the background image. But instead he chose to remain silent while God's creatures were slaughtered. For that there can be no forgiveness.
The Pope was a terrible example of manhood. Good men protect animals. They don't pay people to rape, kidnap, torture, enslave, and commodify them for a 5-minute meal. The Pope is in hell right now because he blessed the use of animals for food or to be treated as slaves. He should have spoken out against places like SeaWorld and circuses and zoos. He should have spoken out against bullfighting and the rodeo, but he remained silent while billions of animals suffered needlessly under his watch.
The timing and tone of the video shocked even viewers who had become accustomed to Katie's provocative statements. Attacking a beloved global figure mere days after their death crossed the line that transcended political and ideological divides. Even ardent vegans and atheists expressed disgust at the calculated callousness of the timing. The Pope Francis video marked a significant escalation in that vegan teacher's rhetoric. While her previous controversies had generally centered on celebrities and internet personalities, figures who had voluntarily entered public life and the associated scrutiny, this targeted a religious leader during a period of global mourning. Commenters under this video expressed strong emotions, saying, "This is effing disgusting, using someone's death to be an asshole." Even irreligious people condemned her lack of basic decency, saying, "Bro, I'm an atheist, but saying thank God he's gone to any person's death, especially someone like the Pope, is incredibly disrespectful. He made a certain choice to eat a certain diet. Whether or not you agree, that doesn't give you the right to be so blatantly rude. What made this controversy particularly revealing was its apparent disconnection from any strategic goal. Unlike her feuds with major creators that could be understood as calculated attempts to tap into their audiences, attacking the deceased Pope seemed designed purely to generate outrage with no pathway to advancing veganism. In the wake of the backlash, several longtime vegan activists in the comments section published comments formally disavowing Katie and her methods. They further emphasized that effective advocacy requires compassion for humans as well as animals, and that Katie's approach was actively harming their cause. The Pope Francis controversy seemed to confirm what many had long suspected: that vegan teacher had evolved from an advocate with controversial methods into a provocateur whose primary motivation appeared to be attention at any cost. The vegan messaging had become secondary to the outrage generation. People from all religions and all walks of life flocked into the comments section in outrage, some in defense of the Pope saying, "Look, I'm not Catholic, but the passing of the Pope had even me upset. Stop mocking someone who did good in their life and made it to a position where it was honorable. As far as I know, he was a good man. At this rate, you need to get off the internet." Another said, "I'm an atheist, and I thought the Pope was a decent guy and he did not deserve this." Others made comments about the state of her mind, saying, "Not to be rude, but I think you need therapy." Some even hinted that she may be in the early stages of senility, saying, "As a Muslim, WTF are you doing, Grandma? Grandma's off her pills again." Someone then asked, "When will YouTube ban her channel?" To which she brazenly replied, "Hi." But interestingly enough, she also had supporters in the comments section saying stuff like, "Maybe the Pope gets resurrected like a lamb and finds out how Easter is from the victim's view." Of course, this comment was met with outrage, but it shows that she isn't the only one that shares this mindset. YouTube commentary creators were not left out of the fray. There are no limits to what she can say on camera, yet TikTok has refused to ban her.
I like my meat.
It's not your meat. Eating your meat would be bending over and licking yourself, okay?
At this point, it seems like she can't be stopped, and our next target proved this. Anna Oop flew right into the vegan teacher's radar when she made a video calling her out for her racist and homophobic comments.
COVID, since, well, she's been blowing up a lot lately and coming for BLM, people's sexualities, religions, and literally minors when all she does is protect animal rights. Yeah.
The video, titled "That Vegan Teacher Has Gone Too Far," got over 2 million views and almost 12,000 comments, most of which were basically people agreeing with Anna and shaming the vegan teacher for her terrible comments. One said, "Animals are not objects, but she literally has a dog enslaved to her household, being forced to eat vegan food." The conflict between Anna Oop and that vegan teacher represented something more significant than just another internet spat. It marked a turning point where commentary creators began systemically dismantling Katie's arguments, rather than simply reacting with shock to her provocations. Anna Oop, a popular YouTuber known for her commentary videos, addressed the vegan teacher's behavior in her video. She highlighted the problematic nature of the vegan teacher's comparisons between animal rights and human rights issues, emphasizing the insensitivity and inappropriateness of such analogies. Anna also criticized the way the vegan teacher imposed her vegan beliefs on others, often in a confrontational and judgmental manner. Following Anna's video, the vegan teacher responded with a video of her own, defending her actions and beliefs. Her video is titled, "Anna Oop Made Me Cry," and got over 1.2 million views. With this sudden increase in viewership, it's clear that she was benefiting off of Anna's publicity. She accused Anna of misrepresenting her views and claimed that her intention was to raise awareness about animal rights, not to offend or belittle other social justice movements. However, her response was met with further criticism, as many felt she failed to acknowledge the harm caused by her statements. Someone said, "I've got vegan friends, all of them chill and cool and never once trying to force anyone to be vegan. Vegans get a bad name because of people like her." Even at that, her victim roleplay was successful, as she also got a lot of positive feedback in the comments section. Someone said, "I've been vegan for a few months because of you. I love you, Miss Katie." But this is something of a unicorn, as her responses are not usually like this. This prompted Anna to create a retaliatory video with the same title flipped back at her. "The Vegan Teacher Made Me Cry." The video became one of Anna's most successful, garnering almost 2 million views and 11,000 comments. Through her response, Anna methodically addressed Katie's attempts to deflect criticism. The exchange was revealing in several ways. When Anna called Katie an old woman, Katie became fixated on the age comment, asking, "Why are you mentioning my age? Does that have anything to do with anything?" This sensitivity to personal criticism stood in stark contrast to her willingness to make deeply offensive comparisons about others. Anna also highlighted Katie's habit of selectively editing clips and misrepresenting statements. When Katie accused Anna of being disturbed by anti-racist, anti-sexist messages, Anna pointed out that the real issue is Katie's inappropriate comparisons of these serious social justice issues to veganism. Perhaps most tellingly, when confronted with her history of racist comments and her disrespectful song about George Floyd, Katie simply skipped over these sections, focusing instead on minor details like adding background music to her song clips. This selective engagement with criticism became a hallmark of her response style. The Anna Oop feud demonstrated Katie's standard approach to criticism: deflect, deny, and distract. Rather than acknowledging valid concerns, she would fixate on trivial details, twist her critics' words, or simply ignore the most damning evidence against her. Anna described the experience as arguing with a wall, a sentiment shared by many who attempted to hold Katie accountable. And one of those people was Ethan Trace. In her first video directed towards him, she engaged in a graphic and gruesome description of the copulation process between a male turkey and a female turkey, and urged Ethan Trace to stop supporting what she called an industry of violence. In her second video of him, she called him a disgrace and accused him of some very heinous stuff using a long and emotionally charged caption. She said, "Ethan Trace was paying for animal abuse when that vegan teacher called him out on it on TikTok." Her response was not just to keep paying for the abuse, but rather to promote it even further in more TikTok videos. Unless he changes, as the path to a vegan future is being paved, Trace will go down on the wrong side of history as a selfish vegan-phobic carnist. Trace will be known by his kids and grandkids as that vegan-phobic who knew about the extreme suffering that animals on factory farms endured, but he kept discriminated against not just the innocent animals, but also against the ethical animal rights activists who worked tirelessly to protect them. But he still has time to change. Hopefully this video will help him see the truth. In response to this targeted attack, Ethan made a video talking about how she only started attacking him because she was butthurt about being banned from TikTok. The video is titled "Hot Tea, the Vegan Teacher," and had over 50,000 views and 700 comments. As you can tell, this is one of the smaller accounts she has targeted, so Ethan's claim of her only attacking him because of her ban might have been spot on. She definitely was not doing this for the publicity. Ethan stated that her primary TikTok account had been banned approximately 1 week prior to his video, an event he seemed to be very happy about. He further said that following this, all of his secondary TikTok accounts were also banned. He also said she attempted to circumvent an IP address ban imposed by TikTok by utilizing a virtual private network, VPN, to create new accounts. Then he reported that these subsequent accounts were also banned shortly before his recording, a development he found amusing. Anticipating further complaints from the vegan teacher regarding alleged attacks and censorship, Ethan reviewed a series of actions that led to her initial ban. These included the mocking of religious individuals and the misrepresentation of religious texts, as well as the assertion that religious belief was not a justification for the mistreatment of animals. Trace also said she told non-vegans they would face eternal damnation, particularly children who intentionally harm animals, and made comparisons considering highly offensive, such as equating the suffering of animals to the Holocaust and the enslavement of black people. Furthermore, Ethan said the vegan teacher ridiculed individuals with disabilities, despite her own claim of having Asperger's syndrome. He stated that she mocked the LGBTQ+ community, describing the act of coming out as selfish. He also said that she attacked farmers and incited her followers to issue death threats against them. Additionally, he said she compared the identification tagging of animals to the practices at Auschwitz.
And all you do is get online and go in person and harass people who aren't vegan, and you're like, you're a terrible person. And you think for some reason, just because you're a vegan, you get a free pass to say and do whatever you want and think that you don't have consequences for your actions. And then when said consequences for your actions for bullying and harassment and hate speech catch up to you, you think you could turn around and be like, no, you don't understand. I'm vegan. I'm allowed to say this. Like, here's my vegan card. You are censoring me. Like, seriously, it's hilarious and very disturbing how you think this.
Following her ban, He stated that she falsely said him to be a pedophile, which he identified as defamation.
But if you want them to play with your buttons, you're gonna have to show them your fruits and your vegetables.
We got all those clips coming up later. You then decided after getting your accounts banned to falsely claim me as a pedophile, which is defamation of character, by the way.
Well, some pedophile on TikTok, that guy who has over 2 million followers, his name is Ethan Trace.
He described her as a Facebook vegan and a militant vegan who negatively impacts the vegan community through online and in-person harassment of those who are not vegan. He suggested that she believes her veganism provides her with an exemption from accountability for her actions, and that she falsely claims censorship when facing consequences for bullying and hate speech.
Say it.
Number one, you mean the words? Oh, did I just? Oh my God, my video's going to get banned. Oh no, I actually said the N-word.
You also demanded to be verified after all this.
I have been asking for my account to be verified.
The audacity.
He found this behavior both amusing and concerning. Trace stated that after a prolonged effort to have her removed from TikTok, he understood her pattern of behavior. He said she employed hate speech and harassment, only to then present herself as a victim.
I have you completely figured out. You throw hate speech and harass other people.
But I don't give a if you don't like vegan food. Just eat the food and shut up.
You get called out for harassment and bullying, and then you turn around and like, oh, I'm the victim.
I am innocent. I did not do.
He cited instances of her alleged past conduct, including the mockery of the gay community, insensitive remarks regarding a person who died attempting to adopt a vegan lifestyle, inconsistent statements about religious belief, the alleged accusation of a minor, and the false statement of pedophilia against him. He also implied that she may have used false accounts to inflate her support. He drew a comparison between her TikTok presence and the former Twitter account of Donald Trump. Trace also addressed her 40-minute video about him, deeming it to lack valid arguments and to treat him condescendingly. He refuted her criticism of his intelligence based on Asperger's diagnosis, noting the common understanding that individuals with Asperger's often possess above-average intelligence. He also mentioned his own college degree and questioned her educational qualifications. At the end of his 12-minute-long filthy read, he invited her to the barbecue holding at his house sometime that week. This would end up being the only long-form video Ethan Trace would publish about her. As you can imagine, she was not okay.
Inviting me to a cookout at his house. Now, I don't really know what's going on, but apparently Ethan Trace is one of the mean people who really wants to keep paying for the rape, torture, and murder of innocent animals. He wants to keep doing that. So he wants to try to shut up vegan animal rights activists.
She went on to publish 13 other videos defaming and harassing Ethan Trace, but that was it for him. He said his piece in that one video and he would never reply to her again. Other people she's attacked include Michael Knowles, Ethan Trace, Ben Shapiro, Das Games, Darman, Lyrics, D'Angelo Wallace, John Robert, and on and on and on. Nobody has been spared. Heck, even institutions like Walmart and the Humane Society did not escape her harassment. Walmart, with its meat departments and fishing supplies, became a frequent subject of her videos. Even animal welfare groups like the Humane Society weren't spared criticism for not promoting veganism aggressively enough. Some might argue that these rants are consistent with her beliefs. If you truly think animal use is morally wrong, then targeting institutions that enable it makes logical sense, right? Others might have viewed these broad attacks as counterproductive, arguing that alienating potential allies undermines any chance of creating meaningful change. Either way, what's done is done.
Hello students! Today I want to talk about this pamphlet and I want to tell you why I disagree with the Humane Society. Let's begin over here. They are talking about promoting Meatless Mondays. They're saying, let's be kind to animals 1 day a week. On Mondays, let's not eat them. This goes against everything that I stand for. We should be not mean to animals every single day. We should not be speciesist. Speciesism is the first form of racism. Now let's take it over to this little girl here. Look at how beautiful she is. Look how cute. How could anybody dislike her just based on the way that she looks? It's mind-boggling. It's wrong. Racism is wrong. And speciesism is wrong. So would you say to somebody who's racist, well, listen, just cut down on your racism. You know, be nice to dark-skinned people on Mondays. That would be a good idea. Start there. Would you ever say that?
In that video, she compared meat eaters to racists and claimed that not eating meat was equivalent to not being racist. Going by this logic, does she mean to say that people of color have a similar status as livestock animals in today's society? Either she's being low-key racist or just really bad at analogies. However, we already know that she has no boundaries when it comes to her activism. So either of these options could very well be the case. Still, this is not the first time she's played with fire with regards to racism. In fact, she seems to use racist commentary for attention on a regular basis.
I've never called anyone that word. I never would. That would.
And why did you make a card saying that? What is the point?
Because because I believe in freedom of speech, and I think when you start banning words, it's dangerous.
But when African Americans were enslaved.
No. Otherwise.
No, because you've been talking this whole time.
Okay, so I'm not a racist, and I think you are.
And in the comments, you have people saying stuff like she talks about freedom, but if people like her had their way, anyone who wasn't vegan would be a slave or some shit like that. In a post about Black history on Black History Month, she wanted to directly compare black slaves to slaughter animals, effectively managing to be racist in a month specifically designed to highlight the struggles of people of color. In this same post, she went on to compare Jews to slaughter pigs. This is truly a despicable act, especially when you remember that Jews consider pigs to be dirty and unclean animals, and as a result, they're forbidden from eating them. She really has no limits. Lots of commentary creators like Jimmy Robbins have strongly called out the deplorable behavior.
Well, she compares them to animals in a month about bringing awareness to the struggles and accomplishments of the Black community.
With people wholly agreeing in the comments saying, comparing Jews to pigs when Jews believe pigs are dirty and don't eat pork is such a level of disrespect that I can't even begin to describe. She's also spelt out the N-word on camera in a video titled, "Are You Racist?"
Does this girl seem to you like she might be naturally intelligent, gorgeous, generous, exemplary, and radiant? She looks like she could be that to me.
Much to the outrage of everyone, the minority group that word matters to random passersby that understand how insane it is for her to attempt something like that. In the video, she had a Miss Elena doll with her, clearly symbolizing people of color. She first talks about how pretty its skin is and hair is, before claiming that cruelty should be banned, not words. She then goes on to clearly spell out the N-word using mnemonics. While her comments are turned off, very surprising, considering her penchant for drama, this video has garnered over 2.5 million views. And the outraged audience had to settle for expressing their outrage in forums and subreddits, saying stuff like, "That vegan teacher does not deserve attention of any kind, only psychiatric. She's just a seriously mentally disturbed person." Although I find it fun to imagine Lady Elaine Fairchild kicking her racist ass. And in a comment about her refusing to discuss her dog's breed because she considers it to be racist, she was attacked by people saying, "It feels racist for me to do that," she said, being the same person who compared slavery of black people to animals. Clearly, there is now a lot of bad blood there. But this is not the only minority group she has come for. The LGBTQ community has also been a major victim of her attacks, with her claiming that the minority flag also includes vegans and calling herself the self-imposed leader of the LGBTQ community.
Here I am. You have found your leader. At first I wasn't the leader and I wasn't going to be the leader, but then I realized nobody was stepping up, and so I went and asked around, and I asked the animals, for example, what they would like. And I said, "Who would you like to be the new leader of the LGBTQ?" And they said, "You." And I said, "Me?" And they said, "Yes, you." And I said, "Why?" And they said, "Because we trust you. You will keep everyone in line. You will remind the LGBTQ that they are not the real victims on this planet, and in fact they are the real oppressors, because they eat the innocent after paying people to murder them." And so I said to myself, yeah, I could totally do that job. And so I report to you.
Of course, this extremely audacious claim was met with severe backlash from the community, with people saying things like, "I hate that woman SM. She's so horrible. She even made fun of a rape victim, a YouTube I like, called KallMeKris. She's insufferable and should be banned on every platform. It's even worse that she's an actual teacher. And okay, I'm a vegan queer person and no LOL, LGBT flag isn't for vegans. Multiple people in the comments section of that video have also denounced her, with some saying, as part of the LGBTQ community, I vote for this lady to be impeached. Other members of the queer community were incredibly offended by the statement, saying, she has crossed every line there is to be crossed. I'm shocked her accounts haven't been mass reported and banned the second they were created. At this point, even vegans had started going around subreddits, vehemently denouncing her. One went on to say, as a vegan, I promise you we don't claim her. She's a terrible person whose entire platform is just one massive guilt trip, and all she does is push people further away. It's no surprise that she's queerphobic. Another blatantly commented, as a vegan, I just want you all to know that the vast majority of vegans do not like her. We are not affiliated with her. She's also had beef with a lot of the medical professionals who have YouTube channels to educate people about health, saying that because they're not advocating for their patients to go vegan no matter what, that they should lose their medical licenses, because they're evil monsters who are glorifying the murder and mutilation of animals. She has an entire folder of 11 videos attacking him for various vegan-related reasons.
Remember, you were born vegan. We all were. We never consented to people killing for us. When we were little, we simply didn't know better, as our parents shoved dead bodies down our throats. But now we do know better. Now we can change.
In that video, she claimed that he was born vegan and could return to being vegan. She also accused his parents of shoving dead bodies into his mouth as a kid. She also spoke about his dog, claiming that he would not endure any form of abuse directed at his dog. She then asked why he was comfortable with witnessing and filming abuse of a fish, referencing one of his past videos. She accused him of funding violence by eating animals, arguing that every meal he had consumed contributed directly to the suffering and death of sentient beings. To her, it wasn't just a personal failing, it was a public betrayal of the very values he claimed to support. She pointed out that countless medical professionals had adopted a vegan lifestyle, setting the official stance of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics as evidence that a plant-based diet is nutritionally adequate for all stages of life.
Instead, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics has clearly stated that people can be vegan at any stage of development. This is Nimai Delgado. He's never eaten meat in his entire life and has lived as a vegan for many years. If he can be vegan, why can't you, Dr. Mike?
She also mentioned a famous vegan athlete, Nimai Delgado, showing off his toned muscles, probably as a nod to Dr. Mike's physically active lifestyle. In doing this, she was indirectly saying that being vegan would not make him less physically attractive or less able to perform physically tasking exercises. By continuing to eat meat, she implied that Dr. Mike was either willfully ignorant or too weak to make the ethical choice. His involvement in fitness and boxing didn't impress her. If anything, she saw it as superficial, an external performance of strength that masked a deeper moral weakness. In her eyes, real toughness meant making hard ethical decisions, not hitting a punching bag for content. She urged him to take responsibility, to educate himself, and to stop promoting what she saw as systemic violence against animals.
He loves to jump for his treats, and he likes to help weed the flower garden. I cannot imagine my life without him. I scooped him up and he seemed really content in my hand, and I had him do some office work with me, and it was hard not to fall in love with him. And I was leaving for the day, so it was like this knee-jerk reaction. It just came out of my mouth. I was like, I'll take him. I brought him home to foster him. Chicks that age should be under their mothers, keeping warm.
Now, to be fair to Dr. Mike, 2 years before the vegan teacher started targeting him in her videos, he had previously tried a diet. All this was not news to him, as he had willingly explored veganism on his own and filmed the process on his YouTube channel. In the video, he explained the pros and cons of veganism, sharing helpful information as a licensed professional in the US.
Vegan diet can be a very healthy diet, whether you're young, old, somewhere in between, pregnant, non-pregnant, breastfeeding, not breastfeeding. Basically, it's applicable to all life stages. The reason I put that word can in there, you can follow a vegan diet, eat vegan burgers with sugary sodas, with gummy candies, still be vegan, and that's not really healthy, right? And I have to say, it's not the only healthy diet out there.
When addressing the health benefits of a vegan diet, he openly said that he would not recommend a diet as restrictive as a vegan diet as a first choice for his patients, citing that restrictive diets have very high failure rates.
I don't generally recommend veganism as my first option. I do know that it's a restrictive diet, and we know restrictive diets have high failure rates. Plus, the benefits of a vegan diet aren't that much better than some of the other alternatives that are simpler to follow. When I recommend a diet, I'm trying to create the healthiest diet, but also one that's feasible and achievable for my patients to face without disrupting their lives. On the other hand, if one of my patients comes in and wants to follow a vegan diet, I'm totally in support of that. I just have to make sure that they're adequately planning their meals, they're supplementing when need be, checking their blood.
He didn't just dismiss veganism, he lived it and documented the entire process. But the vegan teacher conveniently ignores that. In his video, Dr. Mike approached veganism with scientific curiosity rather than ideological fervor. As a medical professional, he acknowledged the substantial health benefits that can come from plant-based eating. He openly stated that switching from a standard American diet to a vegan one could improve chronic conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and stroke, even potentially extending life in some cases. But unlike the vegan teacher who sees only black and white, Dr. Mike recognized the nuance in nutrition science. He noted that adding some animal products into a plant-focused diet still maintained many of those positive health outcomes. This is why he recommends a plant-focused diet to his patients, not a strictly vegan one, a position based on medical evidence rather than moral absolutism. His personal recommendation involves getting the majority of calories from plants with moderate amounts of poultry and fish and minimal red meat. This is the diet he follows himself and recommends to his own family. Dr. Mike's actual 30-day vegan experiment revealed challenges that the vegan teacher never acknowledges in her zealous campaign. He experienced persistent bloating and gas throughout the entire month, problems that never resolved despite his best efforts.
Right, I'm sitting next to a doctor. My stomach is going blah, 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 blah. I had to ask him to stand up like 3-4 times. From day one up until the last day of the diet, I was having tremendous gas and bloating. It's so embarrassing to say. I mean, think about it.
He also struggled with undereating calories, especially during long hospital shifts, and noticed a significant drop in his motivation to exercise, something completely at odds with his normally active lifestyle.
I didn't have tremendous portions, and because of that, I was calorie deficient. I actually noticed some weight loss. What helped me tremendously to make up this calorie deficit is eating some of these snacks that Thrive sent over. If I didn't have these snacks, I'd be under eating calories the majority of the time. Long days in the hospital, but I got my Simple Mills. These crackers get me through some rough days. Was that I lost the drive to go to the gym. My work ethic actually suffered because I was putting such a strong emphasis on sticking to vegan when there were so many temptations and there were things I wanted to eat. I didn't want to hop on my spin bike in my bedroom. I didn't want to go to the gym with my friends. This is really unlike me, and it's an obstacle I didn't actually expect to face.
Despite these challenges, he pushed through the entire month, even when he got sick and discovered that honey, his go-to remedy, wasn't considered vegan.
I decided to stick with conservative treatment and treat it like a viral illness. One of my favorite hacks to treat viral illnesses, actually the symptoms of the viral illnesses, is green tea with Manuka honey.
Patrol members be advised.
Freeze! Vegan police! Vegan police! Apparently, honey is not vegan. What? I guess honey is an animal product, but man, I didn't force the bees to make the honey. They make it on their own. We didn't have to milk them for it. Wait, if you want to disqualify my 4-week vegan challenge because I ate honey, so be it.
When going out with friends, he faced the social pressure and inconvenience of having to choose restaurants based on his dietary restrictions, something the vegan teacher dismisses as mere weakness compared to the suffering of animals. By the end of his experiment, Dr. Mike had lost 3 pounds but didn't feel leaner, likely due to increased carbohydrate consumption from rice, pasta, and vegan sauces. Most importantly, his gastrointestinal system remained in constant distress. Rather than condemning people who eat animal products as murderers, Dr. Mike concluded his video by encouraging those interested in veganism to consult with healthcare professionals to do it in a healthy, happy, and safe way without hurting themselves in the process. He emphasized reducing refined carbs and processed foods, noting that research shows these are the real culprits behind many diseases, a fact-based approach that stands in stark contrast to the vegan teacher's moral crusade. The vegan teacher's attacks ignore this nuanced, evidence-based perspective from a practicing physician who actually tried veganism himself. Instead, she portrays him as willfully ignorant and morally corrupt for not advocating that all his patients go vegan regardless of their individual health needs. For her, Dr. Mike's medical license should be revoked, not because he provides poor medical care, but because he refuses to use his position to advance her ideology at the expense of his professional judgment. This is the fundamental disconnect. Dr. Mike approaches diet from a scientific and medical perspective, acknowledging that what works best varies between individuals, while the vegan teacher sees only a moral binary, where anything less than total veganism equals murder. And because our attacks are so incessant and random, some people who don't have the intellectual rigor to engage her on that level have perfected the art of clapping back with as much pettiness as possible. Take Nikocado Avocado, for example.
That vegan teacher, hello, Miss Vegan Teacher. I just wanted you to know that you look like a Minecraft skeleton.
Nikocado's story is particularly interesting because, unlike many of the vegan teacher's usual targets, he was actually vegan at one point, until the lifestyle began to take a serious toll on his health. According to him, the plant-based diet left him severely drained. He described feeling so weak that he struggled with basic tasks like tying his shoes or climbing stairs. Even more concerning, he said his body wasn't absorbing the nutrients he was eating, leading to fatigue, malnutrition, and declining physical health.
When did you change your outlook on veganism? Because you were vegan for a long time.
A long time.
And what caused you to not be vegan? Because you're kind of the opposite now. I don't want to be rude.
Well, my health was spiraling out of control. I couldn't tie my shoes. I would get winded and out of breath. I couldn't go up the stairs. I was really low in iron and zinc and calcium. I couldn't absorb any of my nutrients.
This isn't an isolated case. While a vegan diet can work well for some people, especially when it's carefully planned and supplemented, it doesn't guarantee optimal health for everyone. Bodies are different. Genetics, pre-existing conditions, and individual nutritional needs all play a role in how someone responds to a diet. And in Nikocado's case, these factors were not on his side at all. What energizes one person might deplete another. And when a lifestyle that's supposed to be ethical or healthy ends up causing real physical harm, it's fair and even necessary to re-evaluate. Nikocado's experience highlights an important reality. Veganism, like any diet, isn't universally sustainable. And trying to force it on others, especially with shame or bullying tactics, ignores the complexity of human biology and personal health. However, the vegan teacher doubled down on making videos about Nikocado, openly refusing to take these facts into consideration.
How can somebody go from being vegan to being not vegan? How do you go from caring about animals and not wanting them to have their throats cut and being stabbed in the neck and being thrown into gas chambers? How do you go from not wanting that to being like, meh? You don't. If you're vegan, a true vegan, you are vegan forever, and you always try to do the least harm.
She completely invalidated Nick and claimed that nobody goes from being vegan to eating meat, completely ignoring the fact that Nikocado developed health issues because of a vegan diet. In response, Nikocado, the ever-active troll, reacted by making videos where he chomped on a large serving of chicken, while a video of the vegan teacher attacking him was playing in the background.
Now, if I'm talking to you directly, Nikocado Avocado, I think you already know. You're not a stupid man. You know what you're doing is evil. You encourage people to pay for a cycle of violence because chickens are sentient beings who want to keep their legs. They don't want you to eat them. They don't want them chopped off or eaten by you. Stop.
And his audience loved it. Fans flocked into the comments section, saying stuff like, "You slayed, Nick," and "Keep torturing her, Nick." But while Nikocado could defend himself with petty clapbacks, the vegan teacher would go on to attack someone who couldn't, a 4-month-old infant. This saga started when she picked her next target, Isaac Butterfield. When Butterfield invited her onto his podcast, Cancel Me Now, she didn't simply accept or decline. She sent him an 11-point contract of demands that revealed the true extent of her self-righteousness. She also made a video titled, Isaac Butterfield Invites Me to His Podcast and Instantly Regrets It in response to his invitation. Her conditions included forcing him to display 25 different vegan foods, wearing clothing with pro-vegan messaging, watching multiple vegan propaganda films, and even threatening him with a $100,000 financial penalty if he didn't comply with her rules. But the most disturbing aspect wasn't her attempt to control the conversation. It was what she said about him when he asked how she thought he should be punished for eating meat. She stated without hesitation that unless he stops paying for animal abuse immediately, he should have to undergo what the piglets do, be castrated without anesthetic, and kept in Holocaust-like prison camps for 6 months before being put in a gas chamber. This wasn't a joke or hyperbole. She was dead serious. In her worldview, eating animal products deserved the same punishment as the worst atrocities in human history. When Butterfield responded, as a Jewish person, I am shocked by what you just said, the vegan teacher showed no remorse or recognition of how deeply offensive her Holocaust analogy was. To her, comparing animal agriculture to the Holocaust wasn't just a provocative metaphor, it was a literal equation. She genuinely believed that eating meat was morally equivalent to genocide. Her response to Butterfield also demonstrated how she views all non-vegans as murderers, rapists, and torturers who are racist towards animals and deserve severe punishment. In her video about Butterfield, she stated that he routinely pays for the rape, torture, confinement, kidnapping, and murder of innocent pigs, cows, chickens, turkeys, lambs, and many other individuals who have never done a single thing wrong to him ever.
Butterfield is someone who routinely pays for the rape, torture, confinement, kidnapping, and murder.
All right, this is a sentence that I never thought would ever be written about me, but here we are.
Of innocent pigs, cows, chickens, turkeys, lambs, and many other individuals who have never done a single thing wrong to him ever.
This extreme language wasn't reserved just for public figures she disagreed with. This was how she viewed 99% of the world's population. Butterfield, like many of the vegan teacher's targets, refused to comply with her demands, and instead used humor to highlight how unreasonable and fanatical her position was.
Now that's not entirely true. You see, I only eat animals, and you may not know this, but I only eat animals who are known racists and known rapists. That's the only animals I eat. I'm actually doing everyone a favor.
He pointed out something her followers rarely acknowledge, that her inflammatory approach and Holocaust comparisons were actually harming the vegan movement rather than helping it. And this is particularly evident in a YouTube comment by a vegan criticizing her. Bro, I'm vegan, and I hate that vegan teacher. There are multiple reasons. 1, most people need animal products. 2, my dad can't be vegan due to his weight. I have to be vegan because of my allergic reactions to animal products. That vegan teacher needs to just leave. Butterfield didn't hold back in his criticism of that vegan teacher. He said she had become a laughingstock, someone people looked at and immediately dismissed as unhinged. In his view, rather than helping the vegan movement, she was actively damaging it. He argued that her behavior was turning people away from veganism, not drawing them in.
Off. You don't make the rules. You are a laughingstock. People look at you and think that woman is insane. You are the reason that more people than ever laugh at vegans. You are doing exactly the opposite of what you think you are. You think you are disrupting and getting people to talk about veganism. You are having people watch you, look at you and think, I don't want to be one of those people.
According to him, while she believed she was sparking conversation and disrupting the norm, the reality was far different. People were not being inspired. They were being repelled. When viewers watched her, he said, their instinct wasn't to reconsider their lifestyle, but to distance themselves from everything she represented. Her willingness to invoke Holocaust imagery so casually, and her inability to see any moral distinction between eating animal products and participating in genocide revealed the dangerous extremism at the core of her beliefs. This wasn't an advocate simply trying to promote healthier or more compassionate choices. This was someone who viewed the world in such absolutist terms that she could equate dietary choices with the worst crimes against humanity. In her video responding to him, she first highlighted his objectification of her body.
I see dem saggy granny titties. No, I didn't say.
That is such a weird thing to say. Look, my boobs have been the same since I was about 18 years old. Well, even younger. They look the same. I would show them to you, I wouldn't care. But, you know, we're not allowed. But let's just say that they were super saggy. What does that have to do with anything? What do other people who are in your life, other women, think about the way that you treat women as if they're objects, in the same way that you treat animals as if they're objects? We don't belong to you.
Now, in her defense, his response was off topic, inappropriate, and unwarranted. He should have stayed on the topic at hand instead of talking about her body. On the other hand, the vegan teacher heavily criticized his comment, stretching it past the bounds of what he originally meant. She did this by saying that the way he objectified females was the same way he objectified female animals, essentially saying that he treated women like animals and vice versa. Perhaps most disturbing was her doubling down on her Holocaust comparisons.
As a Jewish person, I am shocked by what you just...
What difference does it make whether you're Jewish or not? Hopefully the Jews are all not eating animals, right? I mean, given that their ancestors went through this barbaric treatment, what the Nazis did to the Jews was deplorable, horrific. And the thing is that the Holocaust never ended for the animals. And if you were alive back in those days, you would have been doing what the Nazis did. You would have been sentencing people to these gas chambers because you are a racist. You are racist towards animals at this moment. I don't know how you are with people.
When confronted about her statements comparing animal agriculture to Nazi concentration camps, that vegan teacher doubled down. Rather than acknowledging the deeply offensive nature of the comparison, she justified it by claiming that the Holocaust had never ended for animals. She went so far as to accuse Butterfield of being complicit in that suffering, suggesting that if he had lived during the Nazi era, he would have aligned with the perpetrators because, in her words, he was a racist. Her response exemplified why so many found her rhetoric dangerous and alienating. By equating meat consumption with the atrocities of the Holocaust, she not only trivialized one of history's most horrific genocides, but also cast those who disagreed with her dietary views as morally equivalent to war criminals. When Butterfield, who's Jewish, expressed how deeply disturbing he found the comparison, her reply was dismissive and flippant. She questioned why his background should matter at all and suggested that ideally, all Jewish people should be vegan anyway. Her refusal to show empathy or acknowledge the gravity of her words reinforced the widespread criticism that her activism was less about education and more about provocation, alienating people from the very cause she claimed to support. Obviously, Butterfield wasn't finished with his critique of the vegan teacher, eventually creating what he declared would be his final video addressing her increasingly extreme rhetoric. In this 18-minute response video, Butterfield addressed a 38-minute video she had created about him, a disproportionate response to his original 9-minute critique that demonstrated her obsessive approach to confrontation. The video revealed that her list of demands for appearing on his podcast extended beyond what was previously known. She required him to display at least 25 different vegan foods, banned him from eating animal products during filming, and demanded he avoid what she termed vegan-phobic behavior. Even more concerning was her attempt to control the narrative through a bizarre contract that included clauses about no pants or underwear during special meetings between Canadians and Australians during COVID, which Butterfield interpreted as inappropriate sexual innuendo from someone claiming moral superiority. In the video, she accused Butterfield of deliberately walking into a store and giving money to somebody who has murdered an innocent being, a statement that revealed her fundamentalist perspective that equates grocery shopping with commissioning murder.
Yes, that is exactly what he does. He deliberately walks into a store and gives money to somebody who has murdered an innocent being.
I don't know if Stacy, who works at my local Woolies, who drives a Toyota Prius, can really say that she goes out and stabs the cows that they put in the plastic containers that go in the shelves at Woolworths. I don't know if that's how it works.
Her behavior throughout the video alternated between moral condemnation and bizarre performance, at one point even breaking into a dance while chanting anti-meat slogans. a stark contrast to this serious ethical debate she claimed to be engaging in. But what if we're looking at this all wrong? To be completely fair, she's simply giving voice to the ethical urgency behind the animal rights movement, a perspective that by its nature challenges deeply entrenched cultural norms. When the vegan teacher sent her contract to Butterfield, she may have simply been trying to protect herself from the ridicule and ambush tactics that have become common in internet debate culture. Her detailed conditions weren't about control, but about ensuring a productive conversation that wouldn't devolve into mockery. The requirement to display vegan foods wasn't arbitrary, but educational, an attempt to demonstrate the variety and accessibility of plant-based options to an audience that might otherwise never consider them. In a media landscape where meat consumption is normalized and celebrated, her request was an attempt to level an uneven playing field. Her Holocaust comparisons, while provocative, reflect what animal rights philosopher Peter Singer and Jewish scholar Charles Patterson have articulated in songs like Animal Liberation and books like Eternal Treblinka, that there are philosophical parallels between the systematic devaluation of certain lives in both contexts. After all, Isaac Singer did say, in relation to them, all people are not safe for the animals. It is an eternal Treblinka. It's very possible that she was not minimizing human suffering, but rather elevating animal suffering to the moral consideration she believes it deserves. Critics who focus on her delivery often overlook the substance of her core argument, that normalized violence against animals would be considered unconscionable if applied to humans. Her rhetoric aims to break through cognitive dissonance by forcing confrontation with uncomfortable truths about industrialized animal agriculture. When she responded to Butterfield's assertion of his Jewish identity with, "What difference does it make whether you're Jewish or not?" she wasn't being dismissive, but rather arguing that ethical principles should be applied consistently, regardless of one's background as a universalist moral position. Her performative elements, songs, dances, and theatrical presentations, can be understood as creative activism in a digital age where attention is currency. Like many activists throughout history, she employs provocative methods to draw attention to issues that would otherwise be ignored. Most importantly, we gotta take note of the fact that her critics rarely engage with her central ethical claim that unnecessary suffering should be avoided regardless of species. Instead, they focus on tone, delivery, and personality, ad hominem criticisms that sidestep the moral question at the heart of her activism. While the vegan teacher's approaches may alienate some, her supporters argue that significant moral progress throughout history has often come from voices willing to make uncomfortable comparisons and challenge the status quo with unyielding conviction, from abolitionists to suffragettes to civil rights leaders. Whether one agrees with her methods or not, the vegan teacher has succeeded in sparking conversations about animal ethics that reach far beyond traditional vegan circles, forcing mainstream culture to confront uncomfortable questions about her treatment of animals that many would rather avoid. But the way she chose to ignite those conversations often came at a steep cost. In fact, despite all the logic, some of her actions are still downright indefensible. Her reliance on extreme rhetoric, inflammatory comparisons to historical atrocities, and her habitual dismissal of any criticism became her defining traits. These tactics didn't just alienate skeptics, they fractured her own movement. As backlash mounted, she was eventually banned from multiple social media platforms and publicly condemned by both vegans and non-vegans alike. Yet even as her online presence became increasingly controversial, her behavior continued to escalate. No longer content with attacking adult content creators and public figures, she soon began directing her ire at far more vulnerable targets, including, shockingly, a 4-month-old infant. We already know that she was going after Isaac Butterfield, but many drew a line in the sand when she went after his child. In a video that Butterfield described as crossing a fundamental boundary, the vegan teacher directly addressed his 4-month-old son Atticus, bypassing the father to lecture the infant about his diet.
That you had a right to maintain your vegan virginity.
Let's maybe not talk about my baby's virginity, you fucking creep.
You were born so good and so pure, and it wasn't right of them to feed you corpses.
Funny story, when we were coming home from the hospital with young Atticus, he jumped out of the window, ran to the closest butcher shop, and he swallowed whole an entire tomahawk steak. His body, his choice. Fuck you.
Innocent animals who never did anything wrong to you. I know you didn't consent to eating them, and I tried to stop your parents.
In the video, she specifically addressed her message to Isaac Butterfields Jr., acknowledging that the child wouldn't see her message for many years, given he was only 4 months old, a bizarre admission that highlighted the inappropriate nature of her targeting. What followed was a disturbing monologue where she told the infant that she was rooting for him and had tried to help his parents, claiming that the child had a right to maintain his vegan virginity, terminology that Butterfield himself found particularly disturbing and inappropriate to use in reference to a baby. She continued by asserting that the infant was born so good, so pure, before accusing Butterfield and his wife of wrongdoing by feeding him corpses and innocent animals who never did anything wrong. Perhaps most concerning was her statement later in the video where she told the infant, "I know you didn't consent to eating them," implying that parents feeding their child a standard diet recommended by pediatricians worldwide was somehow comparable to violating the child's bodily autonomy. Butterfield responded by highlighting scientific research about the importance of proper nutrition for infant development. He noted that vitamin B12, critical for brain development and primarily found in animal products, could lead to permanent brain damage in infants if deficient, citing information from the Center for Disease Control.
According to the Center of Disease Control, infants who do not get adequate vitamin B12 can become deficient. If left untreated, vitamin B12 deficiencies in infants can lead to permanent brain damage. B12 is found in foods, animal products, primarily meats, fish, milk products, and eggs. Therefore, infants of mothers who consume a vegetarian or vegan diet may be at risk for vitamin B12 deficiency.
He argued that the vegan teacher's advocacy for imposing a vegan diet on infants was potentially harmful to their development, particularly their neurological growth during critical periods. Butterfield also pointed out to what he considered hypocrisy in her claims of animal welfare, highlighting her own treatment of her dog Bella, who she had placed on a vegan diet since August 2017, despite dogs being natural omnivores that require animal proteins for optimal health. This incident marked a significant escalation in her tactics, moving from targeting adults and public figures to directing her messaging at an infant who could not consent to being involved in her online crusade. The backlash was swift, with many of her remaining supporters finding this boundary crossing inexcusable. Even those who sympathized with animal rights advocacy criticized her approach as not only ineffective, but potentially harmful, both to her cause and to the well-being of the child she claimed to be advocating for. People took to forums saying, "She went after a baby, she needs to be banned," and calling vegan teacher trash is an insult to trash. She's less than trash. She's like the gum on the bottom of your shoe, always there in some way, shape, or form. The incident further cemented her reputation, not as a principled activist, but as someone whose zealotry had clouded her judgment, to the point of targeting those who could not possibly engage with or respond to her messaging. At this point, one thing's pretty obvious. She seems to have no qualms about attacking people, and her MO is doing, saying anything to just about anyone on the internet that can give her 2 minutes of fame and publicity. And how do we know this? On her YouTube channel, she has a dedicated section of 333 videos titled Animal Abusers, outlining every single person she has taken potshots at. It's almost like she wants to be easy to find. And when you're this blatant about looking for trouble, people are going to come for you in a meaningful way. A Change.org petition that aims to deplatform her has recently been started to deplatform her again, and currently it has over 1,000 signatures. The petition reads, "That vegan teacher has done nothing but bully others and make jokes about people dying. She's also homophobic and has sexualized children. She has told people not to listen to their doctors and encourages other vegans to bully others. She's putting a lot of young people at risk. She has also claimed that being part of the LGBTQ community is a choice and selfish. On top of that, she has made racist remarks. She definitely needs to be removed from TikTok before she causes real harm. Please help me get her taken down. Let's also stop her from endangering both people and animals." Under the petition, you can see hate comments like "frick this old hag," and comments like "she needs to be deplatformed. This woman is vile and an extremist vegan who wishes death on those who eat meat." History shows that this is not the first petition that has been raised about her. In 2021, a petition to take her off TikTok was signed by over 27,000 people, and it led to her temporary ban from TikTok. The petitioner made a similar case, saying, "Being vegan or vegetarian is a healthful lifestyle that is a choice for some people. However, it isn't always the best option medically or financially." The creator, known as That Vegan Teacher and That Vegan Teacher IRL, has violated multiple community guidelines in various videos, duets, and sounds. She is a former certified educator, however has no background in veterinary nor human medicine. She has made blatantly racist, bigoted, discriminatory statements against anyone who doesn't view veganism her way and her way alone. She has promoted multiple films that are dangerous to children given TikTok's 13-year-old age requirements, and many children under that age access it on a daily basis. These videos show violent depictions of animal slaughter in graphic detail. Her targets have included minors under 18, the LGBTQ+ community, persons with disabilities, people of the Black community, various religions, and more. Multiple reports have made against her content, yet her platform remains active. They then went on to detail some more atrocities, like the time she told a creator with a disability that they would be better if they were vegan, a statement both dehumanizing and ableist. In another disturbing instance, she also told a child they wouldn't go to heaven simply because they weren't vegan, using personal religious judgment to publicly shame a stranger's child. Her actions didn't stop there. According to them, she blatantly encouraged a 9-year-old to go behind their parents' backs and adopt a vegan lifestyle. This was not only an ethical violation, but a deeply dangerous one. A child that young typically lacks the knowledge and resources needed to maintain a balanced diet independently. Without proper guidance, this kind of advice could lead to malnutrition, serious health complications, and in extreme cases, even death. Stepping into a family's private dynamic in such a reckless way put that child at considerable risk. Her disregard for health extended to animals too. She proudly fed her dog Bella a vegan diet, despite warnings from veterinary professionals. The FDA's Center for Veterinary Medicine and Veterinary Practice News have noted that real-world vegan pet foods often lack essential nutrients. Studies that claim these diets are safe tend to be uncontrolled, low quality, and short-term. Forcing a carnivorous animal to follow a vegan diet can lead to cardiomyopathy, chronic illness, and ultimately death. One of her most inflammatory actions came when she used the death of George Floyd to criticize a Black man, accusing him of lacking empathy simply because he wasn't vegan.
Hey. For fun, I went to your profile and noticed that you have dark skin. Maybe you call yourself Black. Do you know what I did when George Floyd died? I bawled my eyes out. I cried like crazy. Do you know how many Black Lives Matter protests I've been to? Do you know how your ancestors were treated? Enslaved, raped, and murdered? Do you not know what they do to the animals right now in the industry? It would be great, even if you're not saving the animals, and if you don't give a shit about anyone but yourself, you at least don't make it worse for people like me who are trying.
Using a human tragedy, particularly one rooted in systemic racism, as a tool to promote a lifestyle agenda was widely condemned. The fact that she, a white Canadian, targeted a Black American in this way added a deeply uncomfortable racial layer to her already disturbing rhetoric. In yet another example, she appeared in a TikTok suggestively sucking hummus off a carrot shaped like a phallic symbol, while encouraging followers to change religions as casually as changing underwear. This is not the first time she's crossed the line with religion. In the past, she made many comments about Jesus, saying that he would not love anyone that does not eat tofu.
Turn to Jesus? Why would I do that when I can turn to tofu?
He doesn't love you unless you eat tofu.
This video was in response to someone on TikTok who told her to turn to Jesus. She also posted this with the caption, "Jesus is vegan and now God is too. Share this video with an atheist you love."
Jesus is vegan now and God is too. If you want to get to heaven, you better be vegan too. Milk, cheese, eggs, or any kind of meat. Buy broccoli, tofu, and vegan foods to eat. God wants us to be kind to the animals, or it's true. You risk getting roasted on the devil's barbecue.
To which people replied her saying, Jesus and God doesn't have anything to do with veganism, and you really should think things over before posting stuff like this. Stuff like this is offensive to a lot of people. I suggest rereading the New Testament again. She even went as far as asking, didn't God feed 5,000 with fish and bread? Even with all that backlash, she doesn't seem to care at all. It does not seem like she's about to stop anytime soon. She recently posted a video of her listening to a Christian song with yet another particularly offensive caption. Mind you, this particular video has nothing to do with veganism, and this is something she's just doing for fun. The comment section was filled with angry individuals, with many saying, "I am so tired of you disrespecting Christians. I am a Christian, and everything you pull out of your mouth makes me boil with rage. Stop hating religions, stop treating veganism like it's a cult when it's a diet, and get a life." And she is going to regret her decisions. She disrespects Christianity, harasses people who are not vegan, and does not believe in our Lord and Savior God. How rude. Many others prayed in the comments, or dropped Bible verses instead of engaging directly with her inflammatory caption. It says a lot about her that this is her idea of fun, taking potshots at minority groups. One person said, "Girl, at this point, God is the reason you are alive," suggesting that she would have been a victim of a hate crime long ago if not for some sort of divine protection. There's one burning question though. Does she actually like anybody? Has she ever been nice to anybody? Has anybody ever received positive attention from her? The answer is unironically yes. And who is it, you ask? PewDiePie. PewDiePie, whose real name is Phoenix Killberg, is one of the most influential and widely recognized creators in YouTube history, rising to prominence in the early 2010s through his energetic gaming commentary and Let's Play videos. He quickly built a massive global audience. Over time, his content evolved to include memes, cultural commentary, and vlogs, solidifying his reputation as a pioneer of online entertainment. Despite facing his share of controversies over the years, PewDiePie's mentioned a strong connection with his audience, often using his platform to promote charitable causes and advocate for free expression. With over 100 million subscribers, he remains a defining figure in internet culture, widely respected for his transparency, humor, and resilience in the face of public scrutiny. And somehow he managed to do what no one else has achieved on YouTube. While that vegan teacher burned bridges with almost every other creator who crossed her path, PewDiePie emerged as the strange exception to her usual pattern of hostility. In other words, he managed to make that vegan teacher like him. But to understand how all this happened, we have to go to the very beginning. PewDiePie posted a video on his channel about how fish is made.
You eat food? Psh, I don't think so! Today we're gonna find out how more food is made. Starting off with the #1 delicious meal, aquarium fish.
Aquariums have been around for hundreds of years. Even now, having a body of water in a glass box seems like magic. The most common aquarium...
No, it doesn't. It says water in a glass. That's magic right there.
In this video, he was reacting to a Nat Geo-style satire documentary about how fish is made, and expressing disgust and distress over the outlandish things the commentator was saying.
What? Goldfish are squeezed by workers shortly after hatching to determine their strength.
Ew! What? Stop! Leave that goddamn goldfish alone!
Goldfish will not be able to resist, and their guts will pop out.
No! No!
Killing them instantly.
The video got over 5 million views and was generally considered hilarious by his audience. A commentator said, "Pewd's not realizing he's watching a parody video is honestly the funniest thing I've ever seen." To which someone replied, "What's funnier is that he's actually been on the parody video creators podcast." But there was an unintended side effect of the video, especially its intro.
You eat food? Psh, I don't think so! Today we're gonna find out how more food is made.
Apparently the vegan teacher watched 90 seconds of this video, saw the vegan burger, and decided that she'd seen enough. She mistook this reaction to be genuine concern, grabbed her ukulele, and immediately went to make her own reaction video.
Hello students, and especially to you, PewDiePie. PewDiePie is a new student here in class, and look, he is giving us a presentation, and already it's starting off great. He's got fries which are vegan, he is showing us a vegan burger packed with veggies there, and he also has some vegan nuggets. This is great. So, I'm going to be filling out this little card here with, I'm gonna write good over here, bad, and his name, and we're going to be giving him an evaluation, a report card, and I hope that he's gonna get a good mark.
In a video titled "The Vegan Teacher is in Love with Me," Felix Kjellberg showed his viewers the bizarre reality that, of all people, he seemed to be the only YouTuber that vegan teacher openly approved of. Even more astonishing was this song she made about him, calling him the apple of her eye.
PewDiePie is the apple of my eye. He's becoming vegan. I've seen him try. He's not a creep like Gordon Ramsay. He's not an animal bully.
Gordon Ramsay definitely suffered a stray shot there. What made this so odd was that PewDiePie wasn't even vegan. He was simply reacting to a video about aquarium fish, which happened to include a burger image in the thumbnail. That thin connection was all it took for Katie to latch onto him as a potential ally in her crusade. Throughout her response video, she heaped praise on PewDiePie, telling him, "I'm so proud of you, and you seem to be evolving and growing up."
And by the way, I want to look back. I'm also going to give you a whole bunch of check marks for what you've got here at the beginning, because I noticed that you had all kinds of vegan foods here. I mean, first of all, I don't know what the heck this other thing is.
I don't
yeah, that's not food.
so.
If that's
Today we're gonna find
dead animals, that's not food. But you have here. Let's put some check marks here. All right. So fries, we said was vegan. Yes. There's pepper on them. It looks like that's vegan. Spices are vegan. You also have a bun there, and bread is vegan for the most part. It doesn't have eggs in it. You got to check though, but most bread is okay. And you have something in the bun, which is either a vegan burger, like a Beyond Burger, or it could be beans in there, made from beans, or it could be made from lentils. So I'm giving you check marks for that.
She even claimed she would tell all the children to watch him if he became vegan, a statement that rang hollow given her limited reach compared to his massive audience. The video revealed something telling about her approach. She only watched the first 90 seconds of PewDiePie's content before making a 6-minute video in response. She also called him a real man and an example to other men.
No!
Another no!
Three! Let's go!
I am stopping this! I am stopping this! Just what every human who sees violence towards
She's
animals
stopping it
should be
now.
saying.
She's only a minute
I
and
am
30
stopping
seconds into the
this.
video.
Oh my goodness, PewDiePie. This could be the beginning of something so wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. I wonder when your vegan declaration day will be.
Rather than engage with his actual points, she cherry-picked moments that could be twisted to support her narrative, giving him check marks on an imaginary report card for statements he never actually made. What she didn't realize was that PewDiePie wasn't supporting her cause at all. She mistook his sarcasm for sincerity, his jokes for genuine interest. While she saw a high-profile convert in the making, he was actually mocking the very tactics she was using. This odd, one-sided friendship showed how desperately she needed approval from larger creators. For someone constantly fighting an uphill battle against mainstream culture, finding an ally in one of YouTube's biggest stars would have been a major win, even if that alliance existed only in her imagination. In the end, PewDiePie closed his reaction video by firmly stating he wasn't vegan and had no interest in becoming vegan, adding that it was just a title that people cared about. That statement alone demolished the fantasy narrative that vegan teacher had constructed, proving that even her one supposed ally in the content creator sphere was nothing of the sort. In response to his comments, she made another video, but this time her tone had changed a little.
Okay, you're showing cream corn? That's not good. The corn part is good, the cream is not good. Okay, so corn itself is good, but when you add cream, you're adding a dairy product. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give you an X for this.
This time she was more critical and gave him more X's instead of check marks. Clearly she had seen the other video and realized that the apple of her eye wasn't quite what she imagined. Even at that, you have to admit that she was nicer to him than she's ever been to anyone else.
The best way to really convince people is to shame them. The vegans have adopted this better than anyone.
That's true.
Although she's trying so hard not to do it though. So I don't know what.
Yeah, she's actually doing this pretty well, honestly. Like, even though she's putting a lot of words in your mouth, she's not being very
toxic.
It's not as bad as I've seen.
Long after her initial encounter with PewDiePie, that vegan teacher's true feelings would occasionally slip through the cracks of her carefully constructed persona. These moments of unguarded honesty came in the form of Freudian slips that her viewers quickly noticed and cataloged. The most telling of these slips happened during her video response to PewDiePie. While praising him for supposedly aligning with her vegan messaging, she stumbled over his name, calling him Cutie Pie instead of PewDiePie.
Absolutely cute, cutie pie.
I forgot. A little Freudian slip, eh? Huh? Revealing your true emotions. I told you, kid. We confirmed it.
Obviously, this slip didn't go unnoticed. PewDiePie himself pointed out while reacting to her video, clearly amused by her unintentional reveal. This brief moment told viewers more about her feelings than all of her deliberate messaging. While she claimed her interest in PewDiePie was purely about advocating veganism, her subconscious seemed to have different priorities. The slip humanized her in an unexpected way, revealing that beneath her militant activism was someone capable of the same celebrity admiration as anyone else. The PewDiePie incident became a small but memorable part of her online persona, a rare glimpse behind the curtain of her usual righteousness. In the comments section of that video, you can see people making fun of her adorable little crush. It suggested that even for someone as seemingly rigid in their beliefs as that vegan teacher, human emotions and attractions could still override her carefully maintained image. These slips served as reminders that despite her efforts to present herself as solely motivated by animal rights, she was still subject to the same human impulses and attractions as everyone else, a reality she worked hard to conceal but couldn't always control. Fellow vegans seemed to be conflicted on her approach, but in general, she hasn't received any major or public cancellations from their end. In the r/debate a vegan subreddit, someone posted an open letter to the community wholly denouncing her antics and encouraging others to do the same. The letter highlighted her racist remarks and insensitivity and strongly condemned her comparisons to rape. The poster wrote, "Diekmeyer has also drawn parallels between the dairy industry's practices and sexual assault, referring to artificial insemination of cows as rape. While the intent may have been to highlight animal suffering, such comparisons are deeply offensive and trivialize the traumatic experiences of human survivors of sexual violence." The poster has also labeled her efforts as counterproductive activism, saying that her confrontational tactics, including guilt-tripping individuals by labeling them as murderers or hypocrites for their dietary choices, do not foster understanding or encourage meaningful dialogue. Instead, they alienate potential allies and reinforce negative stereotypes about vegans being militant or unreasonable. As a community, we must distance ourselves from such harmful rhetoric and methods. True advocacy is rooted in empathy, education, and constructive engagement. This was met with approval, with people saying things like, "I couldn't agree with this more." And I think the carelessness and quickness with how many do so is truly insensitive and, ironically, not very vegan. Comparing various types of disabled humans to animals is equally ignorant and out of place, IMO. But not everyone agreed with the original poster. Some dismissed the open letter, calling it AI-generated troll post from a non-vegan, and saying, "The animals who are being exploited for human profit and pleasure concern me, not tone policing other people who also choose not to exploit other animals." Another replied saying, "Yeah, that's poopy of her to say that stuff about racism, and I also prefer not to use that word regarding forced insemination, even if it's comparable to that term we use for humans." They then also suggested that her lack of followers makes her irrelevant, which means that's not a major issue. This seems to suggest that while she may not have their support, she most certainly doesn't have their condemnation either. That might be why she feels so empowered to go ahead with her antics. But they also seem to be forgetting something very important, that she also attacks vegans that actively care for the animals she claims to love. Her beef with Raleigh Link clearly proves this. Before becoming a polarizing figure in that vegan teacher's content, Raleigh Link 14, simply known as Raleigh to her followers, had established herself as a passionate equestrian and animal welfare advocate with a substantial following on YouTube and other platforms. Her channel primarily focused on horse care, rehabilitation of rescue animals, and promoting ethical treatment across various animal-related industries. Raleigh's connection to animals began early in her life. Growing up around horses, she developed both riding skills and a deep concern for animal welfare. This background eventually led her to rescue multiple animals and share her experiences online, where she advocated for ethical treatment while acknowledging the complexities involved in human-animal relationships. The disagreement between that vegan teacher and Raleigh Link centers primarily around dog nutrition, specifically whether dogs should eat vegan diets. This seemingly straightforward debate about pet food quickly expanded into deeper questions about animal advocacy approaches, intellectual honesty, and what constitutes actual animal abuse. That vegan teacher strongly believes that feeding any animal products to dogs constitutes abuse and is incompatible with vegan ethics. She argues the dogs can thrive on plant-based diets, and that continuing to feed them meat products perpetuates harm to farm animals. In her videos addressing Raleigh, she frequently asks rhetorical questions like, what makes a cow's life worth less than horses? And accuses Raleigh of selectively choosing which animals deserve protection. Raleigh Link takes a fundamentally different position. She argues that dogs are scavenging carnivores with digestive systems nearly identical to wolves, making meat necessary for their long-term health. She contends that forcing herbivorous diets on naturally carnivorous animals is itself a form of animal abuse, even if well-intentioned. Her position is that responsible pet ownership means feeding animals diets appropriate to their biology, not imposing human ethical framework that may harm them. The dispute grew more personal when that vegan teacher made specific accusations about Raleigh feeding horses to her dogs, something Raleigh vehemently denies. Accusations of animal exploitation were hurled toward Raleigh in the equestrian community, specifically targeting those who dared to call themselves vegan while still enjoying horseback riding. A video was posted featuring a shirtless advocate lounging casually in bed, delivering a half-hearted condemnation of horse riding as exploitation.
Being vegan is not only limited to not buying animal products. And since you are incapable of educating yourself, here's the definition of veganism. Notice how it says all forms of exploitation of, as far as is possible and practicable. Riding horses is exploitation.
First, that vegan teacher could be observed in the background, offering approved nods and even grading the performance with glowing marks. The casual nature of this production seemed to irritate Raleigh even more than the content itself. The arguments against equestrianism were presented without scientific backing or consideration for the points Raleigh had previously made in her educational content.
You're exploiting someone else's body to entertain yourself. And that is the only reason why anyone rides horses.
Proper riding techniques, appropriate equipment, and the mental stimulation provided to horses through responsible human interaction were completely overlooked in favor of absolutist declarations, and Raleigh was quick to point this out.
I love that they're not even addressing any of the scientific information that I laid out in my original video, which I will link below, where I literally talk about actual facts on how riding is not abusive, it does not hurt horses. If you do it in the correct way, you use the correct tack, you are properly trained and have good EQ, and you also are within the weight limits and have a healthy, happy horse that is up to date on vet work. And that's what responsible equestrians should do if they want to ride.
Raleigh also claimed to detect some hypocrisy in the stance being taken. According to their strict standards, pet ownership itself, by the very definition being applied to condemn horseback riding, would be equally problematic.
First of all, not only is owning a horse the exact same level of exploitation as riding them because you're keeping a horse for your own personal gain, which we'll get into, but also it's the same thing as owning a dog or a cat or a turtle or a fish or any of these other animals that vegans own.
That vegan teacher herself was known to keep a dog, yet this parallel was not acknowledged in her critique of the horse community. More prevalent was the argument that riding horses is seen as exercise for them, and any horse that isn't ridden regularly is likely to waste away. The comment section was filled with equestrians arguing that exact fact, saying stuff like, "My trainer always says, your horse doesn't work for you, she works with you. As an equestrian, I know how much my horses love our lessons, because she needs a purpose like everyone else. Riding makes them healthy, both in their bodies and their minds." What seemed to frustrate Raleigh most deeply was not the personal attack, but rather the damage being done to veganism as a movement. The collateral damage to animal welfare advocacy was becoming painfully apparent.
You are turning people away from veganism with your extremist ideas and ideologies. You guys are what harms veganism. You guys push people away from the movement. You guys harm the planet by coming out with these extremist viewpoints.
She went further to say that she was sick and tired of their self-righteous commentary, and that they didn't care about what they claimed to care about at all.
Vegans like you turn people away from veganism, and I'm so sick of it. I am so sick of you guys acting like you're holier than thou and the best people to exist, and you care so much about the environment, because in reality you don't.
That vegan teacher employs direct confrontation, stark moral claims, and emotionally charged language. Her approach assumes that forceful moral clarity will eventually break through resistance. She frequently frames issues in absolute terms. Anyone causing any animal any harm, even indirectly or unwittingly, is an animal abuser. This all-or-nothing positioning leaves little room for gradual change or compromise. Raleigh Link represents a more incremental approach to advocacy. While identifying as vegan herself, she acknowledges practical challenges in completely eliminating animal exploitation from modern life. She points out that even committed vegans use products containing animal derivatives, phones, cameras, cars, and that the goal should be harm reduction rather than impossible purity. Her advocacy focuses on encouraging people to make better choices within their current circumstances rather than demanding immediate, total transformation.
Want to address this claim, how vegans think that, oh, I've been vegan for 5+ years and I haven't harmed a single animal and I'm holier than thou and blah blah blah. You have a car that has animal parts in it, your phone probably has animal parts in it, your laptop probably has animal parts in it. You cannot get away from animal materials. You can't get away from, the exploitation of animals and the exploitation of people. The whole purpose of being vegan is not that you will never put others in harm or your money will never go towards, exploitation of humans or people or damaging the environment. The whole purpose is just to try to do the best you can. The best you can for the animals, the best you can for the environment. But it's not that you will ever fully get away from that because it's impossible.
The whole purpose is to just try to limit your consumption of goods and the amount of money that's going towards these other industries and trying to be a better person, Raleigh explains in a response video. That's the whole purpose of veganism. It's not that you'll ever be fully away from all of that bad stuff, it's just that you're gonna try your hardest. Raleigh Link's audience, which includes many self-identified vegans, typically supports her more measured approach, saying that Raleigh has so much self-knowledge and that the vegan teacher is oblivious. They argue that effective advocacy requires meeting people where they are rather than alienating potential allies with absolute demands and moral condemnation. This person said, "The vegan teacher is exactly like an ex-friend of mine, a vegan extremist. People around me who are vegans have been like the vegan teacher. Those people have put me off being completely. People like Raleigh have made me eat less meat and do a vegan meal at least once a week." A longtime subscriber who's a hunter also left a comment saying, "Since watching Raleigh's videos, I've learned so much, and she's so real and is such a realist that even as a hunter, I've actually thought about cutting out dairy where I can and to eat less meat." I liked how she pointed out how those cruel kids who beat a deer to death was also shunned by the hunter community, whereas so many vegans would have jumped at the opportunity to throw us in the same category. If she was a vegan YouTuber, I probably never would have clicked because of people like TVT. Love you, Raleigh. Keep doing what you're doing, because you are the people who make a change. In my home language, we have a saying that honey attracts more flies than a turd does. Does she have a point, though? Looking beyond the controversy, some of that vegan teacher's core messages align with established facts. Factory farming practices often involve significant animal suffering. Environmental research has linked animal agriculture to various ecological concerns, and health studies suggest benefits to plant-based diets for many people. What separated her from more effective advocates wasn't necessarily her core beliefs, but her approach. Other activists have successfully promoted similar messages without generating the same level of backlash by focusing on positive encouragement rather than shame. The question becomes not whether animals deserve protection, many agree they do, but whether her methods helped or hindered that cause. Behavioral science suggests that making people feel attacked typically makes them less receptive to changing their minds, not more. Looking back at that vegan teacher's viral rise shows a complex figure whose stated goals and actual impact often stood in opposition. While claiming to advocate for animals, her approach frequently centered her own persona rather than effective outreach. Today, she continues creating content with a dedicated but relatively small following, while the broader vegan movement has largely moved on without her. The truth doesn't always need to be screamed to be heard, and when delivery becomes dehumanizing, the message gets lost.